We're all set to get rolling. People from around the United States, delegates for Bernie, are on the Zoom call with us. And it's really a pleasure to welcome everybody. My name is Norman Solomon. I'm National Director of rootsaction.org, which is one of the three sponsoring groups of the Bernie Delegates Network, along with Our Revolution and Progressive Democrats of America. We're, of course, just 1 week from the opening of the convention, also known as the so-called convention. And there are some other terms for it as well that I've heard lately. People are, of course, organizing around the country, staying very energetic and active, and trying to not only make the best of a bad situation, but move the progressive movement forward in, of course, every way we can. We've got some wonderful speakers coming up here for our gathering. And to start off, I want to introduce Karen Bernal, who will in turn give an intro to our first speaker. Karen Bernal is former chair for several terms of the Progressive Caucus of the California Democratic Party. And one of her less formal titles is a gigantic, gargantuan hellraiser in the state of California for progressive causes and well beyond. So with that, Karen, please take it away.
Well, thank you, Norman. And it's good to be with my comrades all across the country, fellow beautiful troublemakers, all of us. And yes, and I mean, we wear that badge with honor, right? Because that's the only thing worth doing right now in these times, is raising hell and making trouble, and making the kind of trouble that gets a rise out of people, and it's the only thing that we know that can move the needle on anything here. So it's my honor to represent, not only to represent California, but to also be able to introduce our next speaker, former State Senator Vincent Ford from the state of Georgia. He was a state senator for 20 years. And the thing that I really enjoyed learning about Senator Ford was that he has a long history of civil disobedience himself. And so he is a comrade in arms. He was arrested in Occupy in 2011. In 2015, he was arrested in the governor's office because he was demanding an expansion of Medicaid. He's also known as a former Hillary supporter who in February 2016 decided to switch teams and join Bernie's side and became a Bernie supporter in 2016. And he was the chair of the Georgia campaign for Bernie in 2020. It makes me feel really, really good to introduce former state senator Vincent Ford. Vincent, is he here?
Okay, it's good to be with y'all. Thank you for that introduction. It's especially good to be with one of the baddest fighters in this country, Nina Turner. And so we appreciate you for everything you do, Nina. And let me just outline why I decided to vote against the DNC platform. You know, I have a history of supporting universal health care, Medicare for all, for a long time, long before I got elected. I believe that it was important for everyone to have access to health care. So it was one of the major reasons that I decided to support Senator Sanders in 2016. And so when it came down, well, let me just tell you how I became a Biden delegate. I became a Biden delegate when the Sanders team arranged for me to get an at-large post as an at-large as a delegate to the national convention. And I have as a priority, as I know many of us do, of running Donald Trump out of the White House. At the same time, I had great concerns about the lack of a Medicare for all plank in the platform. It, to say the very least, well, I'll just say that it outraged me when I learned that the platform committee had recommended against or had voted against including a Medicare for all provision. In the midst of a pandemic, when millions and millions of Americans are losing their job related health care, I just thought it was really disappointing for the Democratic Party, which we are trying to make sure is the party of the people, really disappointed that the Democratic Party did not see fit to include Medicare for all in the platform. And you know, I have some personal reasons as well. I was telling Senator Turner that I've had some personal health care issues in the last year, some fairly serious healthcare issues. And I learned in dealing with those issues that deductibles and co-payments, even with insurance, is a very, very difficult, if not insurmountable, thing for many people who even have healthcare. So that's why Medicare for all is so important to me. So when I learned that the Bernie delegates were organizing delegates to vote against the platform, I just want, first of all, let me just thank y'all for organizing that effort. Those of you who contributed your time and energy to organizing Bernie delegates against the platform. It was something that hit me real deep. It was something that I really identified with. And so when I got the ballot, I did what I thought was right. I voted for Joe Biden. I voted for the resolution, what I'm calling the transparency resolution. But when it came to voting for or against the platform, I decided that I could not, in good conscience, vote for the platform. Therefore, I voted against the platform. And it's kind of interesting. I'm a Biden delegate. The Sanders campaign, as I said, arranged for me to be a at-large delegate, but I'm a Biden delegate. But I still, have the Sanders. I still consider myself a part of the Sanders team. So even though I was a delegate for Biden, I could not, as I said, in good conscience, vote for the platform. And that, in a nutshell, is where I am today, trying to hold, as we do everything we can to make a change on November 3rd. I agree with Senator Sanders that the next 90 days are the most important 90 days in American history. Getting rid of Donald Trump, absolutely critical. But at the same time, we need to challenge ourselves in the Democratic Party to be better than what we are. And that's why I voted against the platform because it did include Medicare for all.
And thank you very much, Senator Fort. I believe, Norman, I think you're
Yes.
coming up next.
Right, yeah. I should mention that we will be having some questions and answers afterwards, after we hear from the speakers. And our next speaker is Judith Whitmer, chair of the Nevada delegation, the entire state delegation to the National Convention. And really, the origination, the inspiration, and the perspiration, as the saying goes, for the entire national campaign to vote no on the platform because of the failure to include Medicare for all. It all comes from and continues to come from the Nevada delegation. And as chair of that group, Judith Whitmer has just been so important to this national campaign. So Judith, you're next.
Thank you, Norman. And I'm really glad to be here tonight and share with everyone an update on what's going on with the petition to pledge to vote no on the platform. We have close to 2,000 signatures. We are in the process of vetting those signatures. So at this point, we have over 750 confirmed delegate signatures. We're still trying to identify some delegates. That's why we have a team working across the country, representing each state delegation that's working diligently to put together lists of delegates so that we can identify more of these signatures. So that's one of the things that we'll continue to work on, and that number will continue to go up. But the important thing is that you can still vote no on the platform, regardless of whether your signature ends up on the pledge or not. And we're trying to get that word out as well. So if you come across a Biden delegate or somebody else in your delegation that's hesitant to sign a pledge, they can still vote no on the platform. And also, if you find somebody that you're talking with that's already voted, they can change their vote. You can resubmit your ballot up until 5 p.m. on the 15th. It's a very easy process. You just start over again, submit it again with a notation stating that this ballot voids all preceding ballots. So it's a very easy thing to do. And I think the thing that you need to stress when you're talking with Biden delegates and talking with other delegates is to say, you know, this is a vote for the people. This is a vote for single payer health care. This is not a divisive vote. It's not a vote against Biden. It's a vote for the people. It's time for us to take a stand and send a clear message to the DNC, to our party leaders, to our elected officials, to our candidates, that we are drawing the line at Medicare for All, right here, right now. It's been hard for all of the delegates around the country to see this process going on and feel like we're powerless. So sometimes you just have to take that power yourself, and you have to find the strength and the power to keep fighting. And that's what we're doing here as a national delegation. As the DNC delegates, we were elected by the voters in our states, territories, and commonwealths to represent them. We're not here to represent the DNC. We're here to represent the people. So I feel that we need to start thinking of ourselves as the leaders of this movement. It's our time to stand up, to take a stand and draw the line, and that's what we're doing. So thanks to all of you for supporting us. Thanks to all of you for working with us. And again, think of yourselves as leaders in this movement. We are leaders now in the fight for healthcare justice. So make sure you're getting the word out as we go. Right up until the last minute on the 15th, we're going to be getting signatures on that pledge and trying to get people to change their vote if they've already voted. Don't forget, tomorrow is our day of action for Medicare for All. We're all voting no on the platform tomorrow. If you run across a Biden delegate, like I said, that's already submitted their vote, get them to change their vote and vote with us tomorrow. So tomorrow, we're voting no on the DNC platform. We're drawing the line at Medicare for All. We're posting videos. We're sharing messages, basically letting everybody around the country know how the DNC delegates feel about this. So get your messages out. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to share your messaging. We right now have a call out for video clips. Those are going to be posted and go out tomorrow as well. So make sure that you're in touch with us, contact us through BDN or contact us directly. And we will be sharing lots of info on ways that you can get the message out tomorrow on our day of action. Thanks again to everyone. Thanks to BDN and Reese Action and Our Revolution and Progressive Democrats of America. And especially thanks to Senator Nina Turner.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that, Judith, and I hope that there are good questions regarding it at the end here. We are making really good time, so that adds to the Q&A portion of this, and so that's yay, you know, for that. before I go on, I wanted to thank again Senator Vincent Fort. It's always nice to make this family bigger and to bring people in. And I think that it's especially meaningful, your gesture of voting no on this when you are a Biden delegate, and you're with us. But I think that it's a big thing, and I'm sure that many of us are very, very thankful for that. Okay, I'd like to go on to, and I'm really happy to introduce this next speaker because, well, I don't know what to say except being in California, we love Ro Khanna. One of the, in many ways, this convention, we've all been mass muted on this virtual convention, but one of the best things that we've done was that we fought back hard and we got the chair of the state delegation that we wanted. And I can't tell you guys how much that means because, most of us know that in many cases it goes to the governor of the state or it's seen as something perfunctory, but we really fought hard. And the upshot of it was that we, as a bonus, we got Barbara Lee as a co-chair. We would have never dreamt of that. So that was huge. And so since then, though, when anyone that would have said that this is just a ceremonial symbolic role, well, Ro has picked up the mantle and he came at it from a completely activist point of view. And he has, as you guys, if you follow him on Twitter and you've been reading his pronouncements, he is front and center when it comes to the fight for Medicare for all. He is front and center in calling out the military-industrial complex and talking about the failure of the Democratic leadership to redirect funding during a time of pandemic. We could not be more proud of our congressman from the 17th Congressional District, our Congressman Ro Khanna. Ro,
Well, thank you. Hi, Karen. How are you? Great to see you. I'm in touch on text or phone with Karen and Norman all the time, and so they're like family. And I am so grateful to them for their leadership, and to Amar Shergill and all of the delegates across California first, because that's been our home base, and I was so proud that we delivered for Bernie Sanders and won overwhelmingly in California. Would probably have won even more decisively had all the candidates not dropped out 2 days before. But I think this movement is as strong as ever, and I just appreciate having the honor to speak to you. Let me speak very bluntly in two ways. Let me first talk about what's good about the platform, and then what's wrong with it, and then how I'm going to vote. This first time I'm sort of sharing this with anyone, but I thought it was an appropriate forum to share it with Bernie delegates. So first, let me say what is good about what happened, the rules package. And here I want to recognize and single out Larry Cohen from Our Revolution. Larry is Larry's frankly the reason was a co-chair for Bernie Sanders' campaign. I mean, he said nice things about me to Bernie and said a lot of great things about the Bernie campaign to me, and is really in public service for the right reasons. He got 173-0 vote on some very critical issues. No superdelegates going forward in 2024 or beyond. That's absolutely critical if we ever want to have a progressive nominee. Making sure that decline to state and independents can register and register at the same day. That's absolutely essential if we want to see more Jamal Bowman's, Mondaire Jones, insurgent type candidates winning elections. And making sure caucuses actually now have to have people vote if they are disabled, if they are working families, that you can't just exclude huge populations from caucuses. So these reforms that fundamentally go towards democratizing our party, as Fannie Lou Hamer said, democratizing institutions of parties are so key. These reforms were a big win. They were propelled by Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign. They are completed by Larry Cohen's grassroots organizing and excellent work. And I think that the rules package is worth supporting. The platform is a different matter. While there have been positive directions, some of it seems going backwards. I mean, to have Medicare, the initial dream, let's just be very clear on the history of this. Medicare, when Harry Truman fought for it, when FDR fought for it, was always supposed to be a universal program. The idea was that you would extend Medicare to everyone. That was the point. It was always supposed to be about expanding Medicare. Lyndon Johnson strategically said, okay, let's start with seniors. But the point was, as we had seniors covered, eventually it would cover everyone. This is not about taking away anyone's choice. This is about expanding what we give seniors to every American and improving upon it. That's simply what Medicare for All is. And anyone who says it's going to take away choice, I want them to find me seniors who claim that Medicare has taken the choice away from them. I've yet to meet a senior who says, I feel like you're giving me Medicare has hurt me and taken away choice. What they usually say is, I'd like Medicare to do more. I'd like it to cover long-term care. I'd like it to cover prescriptions. I'd like it to cover vision. And Medicare for All is about saying, we want Medicare to cover those basic things because healthcare is a human right, and we want everyone to have healthcare from the day they were born. I can't believe we're actually having this debate still in 2020. I can't believe that we're having this debate in the midst of the worst pandemic this country has seen since at least 1918. I mean, if anything should tell us that healthcare shouldn't be tied to your job, to your employment, that there should be a sphere apart from monetary gain, that there should be a sphere of life, a sphere of living that does not depend on the whims of the market, that is based on people's intrinsic dignity. It is now. This is not just an issue that is now affecting working class Americans. It's affecting people in the middle class and the upper middle class. People, some of the techies in my district, they lose their jobs or they've lost income, and restaurant owners, and they now see that how difficult the private healthcare system is. They're reluctant to go get checkups or get procedures done because of the deductibles, because of the costs. They're now having to navigate things like COBRA. They're now having to navigate things like the exchanges and the premiums and realizing what's not covered. This is the time. If we don't stand for Medicare for All now, where millions of people have lost health care, where we have the biggest public health crisis of modern times, then when will we? I don't understand why we're still fighting this issue. And here's the point. And I was speaking at Larry Cohen and Pete D'Alessandro about this. Pete helped me do the research. I know he's got a great statement that you should read on your own. And he influenced me, not the other way around. But Pete told me, he did the research. This was part of our platform, Medicare for All, in 72, in 76. It was, Carter won on it. I mean, it was stripped in 1980, in the Reagan Revolution. Let me ask you, delegates, why should we still be defined by Ronald Reagan's politics? That's what not having Medicare for All in a platform says. It says we're still in the Reagan framework because we stripped it because of Ronald Reagan, because of the Reagan Revolution. I believe we have to stand for Medicare for All at this moment. There are other parts of the platform, of course, that I like. There are things about collective bargaining that are very good, about labor rights, about treating independent contractors as employees. There's great progress even on climate change in terms of finally getting a bold vision to get carbon free by 2035. There is progress on a lot of issues of race in terms of not having the standard of force be what it currently is. There is progress on issues about $15 minimum, $15 living wage. There's a lot to like, but we can't ignore the biggest crisis at this moment and give assent as progressives to a vision that is short of the aspiration going back to the New Deal of healthcare as a human right. And that's why I plan to vote no on the platform. I'll be making a formal statement later this week, but I wanted to let the Bernie delegates know personally That doesn't mean I'm not going to be supporting Joe Biden. I'm going to be out there supporting Joe Biden very strongly. I'm going to be out there doing everything I can to defeat Donald Trump. But unity does not mean uniformity. Unity does not mean conformity. Unity means that you can respect difference, that you can have intellectual dissent and still support a candidate. That's what actually liberalism and progressivism is all about. I don't believe I have to give up my convictions, my ideals to support Joe Biden. My vote on the platform is reflective of my values, of what I think is the fundamental challenge right now for this country. My support for Joe Biden is based on who I think is going to be the better president at a time where we have huge existential challenges as a country. I will do everything I can, 110%, to see that Joe Biden wins the presidency. And I know Bernie Sanders is too. But I will not give up my conscience and vote for something that I don't think is correct. And so I stand with all of the delegates, and I respect what delegates want to do. It's a decision of your conscience, but I think it is perfectly within our rights and perfectly understandable to say we demand that Medicare for all be this party's position, this party's aspiration, and we demand it now more than ever, seeing the suffering around this country. So thank you. Thank you for letting me share that with you. And I look forward to seeing all of you virtually for a while, and then hopefully in person.
Well, Ro, I know that when I say thank you, I am really speaking for the 136 Bernie delegates on this call right now, and for so many other people. I can't think of anybody in the US Congress today who's doing more to advance the progressive agenda. And I know that that's ongoing. It's been true for 3.5 years, and looking forward to, as so many progressives are, working with you in the future.
Well, I appreciate it, Norman, and you've been a big part of helping shape our thinking on Medicare for All and helping shape some of the statements we've put out. You're a real resource, intellectual resource, and activist for the progressive movement. And I really applaud you for what you did with Root Action and building the progressive movement to make sure that we defeat Donald Trump.
Oh, well, thanks. We'll defeat Donald Trump and then move on for our progressive agenda.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Norma, for having me.
Oh, you bet. Thanks so much. Now I am going to introduce another former co-chair of the Bernie 2020 campaign, former Ohio State Senator. You may not know that Nina Turner is a former professor of African American history, and I like to say that Senator Turner is still teaching history every day that she speaks out and speaks up, because if we don't know where we're coming from and we don't know where we've been, we can't understand our current moment or what's possible. Senator Turner is host of the new podcast, Hello Somebody, and I hope you will be checking that out and listening to it ongoing. She's also a CNN commentator, and she's strategic delegate advisor for rootsaction.org. And here is Nina Turner.
Thank you, Norman, so very much. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you on a Monday. Oh my God, all of my colleagues, they did that. I just got to give them some snaps. And Congressman Ro Khanna, breaking news, Bernie delegates, breaking news. He gonna both know on the platform. Oh my Lord, I thought I was gonna leap out of my chair. Unity does not mean conformity. Hello, somebody. That is a beautiful thing. To my dear brother, Senator Fort, we have been on this journey together since 2016. I appreciate him so much. He has such a deep story to tell. He didn't even go deep into it, and I won't reveal it because he did not. But when he says to you, he understands from personal experience why we must have Medicare for all, baby. He has a story to tell that is similar to the stories that I heard all over this country. I have been over the last 5 years to almost every single state in the United States of America, including Alaska and Hawaii. Why we always say that, including Alaska and Hawaii? They one of the states too, but just how far away they are, I'm just putting the extra emphasis on that. And I went to the great island of Puerto Rico. It's been way too long. I wish I could have gotten back there to help my sister girlfriend there, Carmen Cruz, but for COVID. Man, a sister would have been there to help my sister in this struggle for what is right, for what is just, and for what is good. And I don't think there's been hardly any other person other than the co-chairs of the Bernie Sanders campaign that has traveled all over this country. And as I said, it's taken me 5 years to hit every single one of those states. And I think I'm lacking about 3 of them that I just barely did not get there. So the stories, this stuff is deep, this stuff is real. This is not just about some empirical data. See, there are human beings that matter. It's not just about the widgets, baby. There's some flesh and blood behind these decisions. And to, oh my God, Chairwoman Judith Whitmer, Lord have mercy on my soul. I am so ecstatic that she made a damn demand. Then she got some co-conspirators and said, we gonna make some demands too. Nevada brought it on home, baby. Then they pulled in their sisters and brothers from all over this country and said, we're gonna get together. This is a good time for me to introduce what our dear brother, Michael Render, AKA Killer Mike. I think he has described in just simple words what our colleagues in the great state of Nevada were able to do to plot for good. Come on, to plan for good, to organize for good is my saying, to strategize for good, to mobilize for good, and baby, to capitalize for good. That is Michael Render, AKA Killer Mike. Those are the simple steps to organize and to plot, to plan, to organize, to strategize, to mobilize, and to capitalize. And that is what Madam Chair did with her comrades. She did that. And then she invited hundreds of her closest friends because it takes teamwork to make the dream work. Bernie Craig, if you needed any other recent, right now example of how we really do have the power, that's a right now example. To my sisters and brothers in the great state of California, they got this party started. They made a damn demand too. And they said, you know what? It's Brother Roe or bust. Oh no, they were planning. I don't know if Brother Amir's still on this call, on this Zoom call, but they made it very clear, baby. It's Brother Roe or bust. We will not. We're going to vote down everybody. The governor is getting voted down today in the great state of California. They ain't want none of that. See, they made a damn demand, and as Sister Karen was able to lay out, then they got 2 other sisters, to work with our dear congressman, but they were not afraid in the midst of neoliberals, in the midst of people who think they got the power to make the demand and then make sure that there was a consequence behind that demand. So you can't make demands without consequence. The consequence they set up very clearly, we are going to vote no if anybody else other than Congressman Ro Khanna is the chair. The same thing with our sister chairwoman, Judith. We are not only making a demand, but there's going to be a consequence. We are going to vote no on this platform. Hello, somebody. That's how demands go. Got to be some consequences. I am so glad. So to the Bernie Delegates Network, amen to everything that the congressman had to say about Norman, about Karen, about Bill, about Larry Cohen, the chairman of Our Revolution, who I'm not sure is on this call. He did that. Yes, he did. He did that on that Rules Committee. I was on the Rules Committee. It wasn't necessarily a pretty sight for all the other things, but he did that. And we have many more miles to go. The other things that are wrong with that platform, Lord have mercy on my soul, did not legalize cannabis. I just don't understand. I'm trying, Sister Robin from New York, trying to wrap my mind around why in the 21st century, knowing what the war on drugs did to the African-American community in particular, and in poor communities in general, that you would not vote to legalize cannabis, as so many other states have done, take it off of Schedule 1 and help to right some wrongs, help to make some crooked paths straight. But baby, they did not do that. And then for our Palestinian sisters and brothers, don't even get me started. When we could have shown clear allyship with them and their right to exist, to pursue happiness, and make a demand on our sisters and brothers in Israel, bring folks together and say, come on, now we got to do this. Couldn't even do that. And oh my God, no Medicare for all. I just don't understand. this platform is less progressive than 2016. I think Congressman Rowe kind of laid that out. We just going backwards. It cannot be tolerated. A platform is aspirational. It is not necessarily a tool that should represent what the nominee wants, especially if the nominee is wrong. And they are wrong all day long on this. For generations, we've been trying to get here, and it makes no sense, especially with the backdrop of COVID, to not do the right thing. Hello, somebody. Just doesn't make any sense to me not to do it. Got almost 50 million people unemployed. We had almost 90 million people before COVID who were either uninsured or underinsured. And if you didn't believe that universal health care was the way to go, baby, if COVID don't move you, if people losing their employer sponsor health care right before your eyes doesn't move you, I don't know what to say. So I am so glad that we are making a demand. And just like I'm sure this comes as no surprise, y'all know I'm voting hell, and I'm writing in hell no on the platform myself with an exclamation point behind it. They know I'm coming that way. But see, Congressman Rowe kind of, he's a little smoother than I am. You know, he cuts you smooth. They already know Sister Turner coming. I'm telling y'all, we wouldn't be in this moment without people like you. And some of the victories that we have had all over this country as progressives are to be applauded. Our most recent victory is my little sister, Cori Bush, baby. She and her team did that. They wrote her off. They talked about her class. They talked about her gender. They talked about the struggle. Baby, they did everything. But that sister prevailed because nevertheless, Cori Bush persisted. And the second time, you know, my sister Fantasia, the great singer, said sometimes you got to lose to win again. Can I get an amen on that, baby? Amen on that. So progressives, listen. And there are others that I'm not naming. We got our sister Paula Jean in West Virginia who's doing that daggone thing, running for the Senate. There's so many other people that I'm not naming. Y'all know who these folks are. If their elections, if their primaries have not happened yet, please support these folks. Please support progressives. It is not just enough. We got to put some substance on these people now. We can't fall so in love with people that we just vote for them. We got to hold people accountable. And there cannot be any love affairs when the leaders of this country don't show a real love for the people. Why are we loving them when they are not loving us? As Sister Janet Jackson once said, "What have you done for me lately?" We need to hold elected officials accountable. It is our power. It's your power. And it's not the other way around. It's not even their money. It's your power and your money. And imagine politicians telling you what you cannot do with your money. If we decide as a country that we want to have a social contract one to another, why can't we have that social contract? The majority of the American people, and I ain't talking about whether they Democrat or Republican, 69% of the American people say they want Medicare for all. Hello, somebody. And if you are a Democrat, it's over 80%. It's almost 90% if you identify as a Democrat. So why can't we have nice things? Meanwhile, back at the ranch, don't hesitate to print money in the midst of a crisis, a pandemic, to take care of the corporations, this corporate greed. It's nothing wrong with having wealth. But baby, when you make your money on the backs and the necks of the everyday people in this country, somebody got to call out and say that this is wrong. There can be no more getting along to go along. And I hope to God that this is the last presidential election when we got to choose the lesser of the two evils. Hello, somebody. That's how I feel about this election cycle. My heart aches and my heart breaks because I understand what people are enduring. I've endured it myself, got family members enduring it, and good God Almighty, had a chance to meet thousands of people, maybe not hundreds of thousands, but thousands of people all across this country who are suffering. The majority of the people in this country, they do want an increase in the minimum wage. I got my brother Kenneth, he done put his sign up, baby. He done put the sign up. He said, I'm for, what's that? $25 an hour minimum wage. Okay, brother Kenneth, you working it out. So, man, I'm telling y'all, I'm just really glad that we are here together. I'm looking forward to having the questions and answers. I want to go into that because I'm going to stop it right here. But I want you to feel like, don't get weary in well-doing. And just because, see, status quo doesn't work. as poor people, as marginalized population. Status quo does not work. And for a sister like me who come from a people who were enslaved in this country, I certainly understand that status quo does not work. And you are the 21st century freedom fighters. Yes, you are, baby. And this power, this change that we're going to get is coming from the grassroots. It ain't coming from the grass tops. So I don't know if they told you, progressives, you didn't have to, you can't get out once you're in. You're in forever. And you are on assignment, baby. You're on a magnificent assignment. We're going to win some, we're going to lose some, but we're going to keep pushing ahead. So I'm going to bring you word. I usually end with this word, but Karen, Sister Karen, end with something else today. But Brother Eugene's Debs, you know, I'm just feeling this because he broke this down. He said, where there's a lower class, I am in it. Where there's a criminal element, I am of it. And while there's a soul in prison, baby, I am not free. But Medicare for all, as long as there are millions of our sisters and brothers in this country, either uninsured or underinsured, baby, we are of that group. And as Senator Vincent Ford laid out, sometimes you even got insurance, you can't even afford the co-pays and the deductibles and the premiums. Hello, somebody. At this particular time in our nation's history, when 61% of our discretionary budget goes to the Pentagon, to the military industrial complex, and then meanwhile back at the ranch, you telling me we can't have Medicare for all? Oh no, as long as they're not Medicare for all, universal health care, baby, we are of it. As long as there are oppressed, depressed folks in this country, we are them. We will continue to stand up for what is just, for what is right, and what is good. And we're gonna have to endure some valley moments to appreciate the mountaintop. But when history is written, it's gonna testify to the strength of this movement. We just getting started.
All right. Oh my. So I am so glad. I am so glad whenever Sister Comrade Nina Turner gets to speak. Coming all the way from the island of misfit Black girls, and and wanting and you know, making new friends, and we're all wanting to go back there. We're pretty soon that island's going to be overpopulated here because we're all wanting to go over there. So
yeah, we're gonna have us. Hey, we just get more islands, but y'all all welcome to the island of misfit Black girls. As long as you can write just and good now. That's the criteria.
there you go. I want to say while we're at it too, before we go into the question and answer period, I want to say welcome also to, and I mentioned all across this nation, but I want to also welcome Democrats abroad. And we have delegates here, fellow delegates from Guam and Puerto Rico as well. And so when you were talking about Puerto Rico, it reminded me, I forgot to mention Democrats abroad and Guam and Puerto Rico, but they're in the house.
Beautiful. So, hey, Sister Karen, before you go to questions, I got to shout out Michael Lighty, because baby, Michael Lighty did that on that platform committee, standing up for Medicare for all. Yes, that brother did. He laid it down, and hopefully some of the questions we can pull him into answering. Michael Lighty, thank you, baby.
And you know, here's the thing too, it's like, we're not the ones being divisive here. We're not the ones being divisive at all. We're standing up for 87% of Democrats and 69% of Americans. Yes. So who's being divisive? Okay. Anyways, I could go on and on. Okay, question and answer period, folks. So we're going into that. We will take some statements, but as you know, we love questions more. If you can keep it to 30 seconds in a minute, that'll be more time for our speakers. And so with that, Bill, who's running the things behind the scene, do you have, who's first on the list here?
Sonia, you're first.
There you go.
I was getting so into what I was listening to, I almost forgot my question. So I want to know, one thing I want to know is, and just say this group is great, I'm very psyched. I want to know how many states are having live events. In Massachusetts, we're having one live event that is basically bringing all the delegation together at a racetrack to have like a big screen for the convention, to have us in cars socially distanced. And the reason I want to know this is because I feel like in addition to our action tomorrow, and I hope you will all record or post your stories tomorrow, in addition to that, I feel very strongly, and I've been reaching out to organizations that support Medicare for All, that there should be actions if you are having a live event with people rallying in support for Medicare for All. There will be press there. There will be the leaders of the Democratic Party there. And I think it's really important, if we're able to organize, to get people outside to protest and show how they feel. The Democratic Party needs to know that people need to actually tell them they won't vote for them if they don't support them. I think they need to hear that. Whether you mean it or not is another thing, but they need to hear that. And I also just wanted to know how many people have recorded a story for tomorrow. Rhetorical question, don't need to answer. If anybody can help organize something in the Boston area, please reach out to me. But I do want to know how many states have live events going on.
Okay, this seems like a Judith question. Maybe I know that there's things here in California, but I'd like to know, maybe Judith might know more.
Well, as far as for Day of Action events, we've gotten reports from Oregon and Colorado, Massachusetts, of course. I think they were one of the first ones to set up events for tomorrow. Videos are being shared from around the country. So one of the things we did was we have what we call a team of deputy whips. So joining our team is like a representative from each delegation. And then they're working with us not only to get signatures, but also to share and spread messaging and stories within their state delegations. And so we have a whole campaign going on to do retweeting and social media all day tomorrow. That's why we need your stories and video clips as well. But it would be great if our state delegations want to go ahead and share, send us the information about what they're doing or the links to what they're doing, and we'll share those as well. But like I said, we've had reports coming in from all over the country about different events and different actions going on tomorrow. As far as state delegation events for the convention itself, I know a lot of state delegations are doing virtual breakfasts, and in fact, that's what we're doing here in Nevada. We're also looking at possibly renting out a drive-in movie theater to watch the convention together, and still be socially distant and wear our masks. So, you know, there's a lot of different options you can look at when you're trying to come up with things that are creative and still with concern over being in groups during a pandemic. So if you have any ideas or suggestions and you want us to share what you're doing, then get in touch with us and let us know, and we'll get that info out there as well. And thanks to everyone for really, really joining together and for working hard on this effort. You know, as Senator Rock, as we've heard over and over again, this platform is supposed to represent the people. It's not supposed to be written to match a candidate's position. It's supposed to be written by the people and stand for the values and principles of the people. So when we're making these demands, keep that in mind. We're asking for what should rightfully be our voice, our power, and our influence and impact on what we want, what direction we want the Democratic Party to take in representing us. So thank you to all of you for being leaders in this movement.
Thank you.
Okay, and who do we have next?
We have Ron Birnbaum.
Ron?
Yes. Hello. This is a question, a comment and a question for Congressman Khanna. So one of our sort of sisters in struggle, Zephyr Teachout from the state of New York, just has a new book that came out called Break 'em Up, which is about taking on corporate power in America. And as you know, we're going to be doing an event with you and Zephyr this weekend, and I will invite everybody to that. I hope you'll come to that. Question is, your work as the founding co-chair of the House Antitrust Caucus, what direction does that speak for a future sort of direction for progressive activism against big corporate power in America?
Well, I have bad news, Ron. I was just told that Congressman Khanna had to leave.
Oh,
And I don't know if Norman or if any one of the featured guest speakers would like to maybe answer that, but it seems like you wanted to say something else.
no, no. Well, I guess then, like, come to this event this weekend. I'm going to ask him that question in more detail, but like, it still remains the case that we are really living in like kind of a tyranny of kind of economic oligarchy right now. And what are we going to do about that? I mean, I guess that's, I mean, how even looking at the convention, what are we going to do about that?
Well, I mean, if I can say something myself, I think we're doing something about it right now with our resounding resolve to no vote. That is the or else that Senator Nina Turner was speaking to. We can't just be against something. There has to be an or else about it, and that we're exercising that or else right now. So in some small way, I want us to give ourselves a pat on the back for that, for recognizing that we are doing something and within the confines of where we find ourselves. And I would like to hear, maybe since Rose's not here, if Nina or Norman or Vincent has anything they'd like to add, and Judith as well.
I defer to the speakers.
Are you, I guess, is that me then? I'm the
Sure.
speaker up on this one. I'm trying to multitask here at the same time. Sorry about that. So with this whole thing with the platform, I've heard conversation back and forth about what can we do and what do we expect with the platform vote and everything else. We've already seen that it's having a lot of impact. There have been reports back to us from different state delegations that are panicked that they're going to get all the ballots in on one day. I think most of the California ballots are still out. There's a lot of states that have not turned in any ballots yet. We've seen that the Minnesota delegation has I think the entire delegation signed on to the pledge. So, we're seeing a lot of support, a lot of increasing and building support. And we're seeing that the message is getting out there through the DNC and through the state parties. So our next steps looking forward is that we have a resolution that we are going to take to each state central committee around the country to get each state central committee to adopt a resolution in support of Medicare for all. Yes, some states have adopted it into their platform, but we want to make sure that each state central committee also passes this resolution in support of Medicare for all. The other thing that we need to start doing is holding our elected officials accountable. We need to start demanding that our candidates and our elected officials sign on to HR 1384 and S 1129 in support of Medicare for all. So there's a lot of actions that we're working on, and we have to keep fighting. It's going to be a long haul fight because we're fighting corporate interests. We're fighting a government system that only seems to work for special interests and for the wealthy. And we need to start getting them to work for us. We need to start recruiting and working together with a plan to win all these seats as they come open for election within our states. State by state by state, there's things that we can do in our own communities and with our states to take action and to bring change. And the more that we do that, even locally, the more progress we are going to make as a collective. So we've got a lot of things going on in Nevada. We've had representatives from New Mexico reach out that we're working with them on Palestinian rights issues, because that's a battle we've had here in Nevada and that we're working on as well. So, there's things that we need to start being more creative and more assertive on. We need to start being more aggressive as a whole, as a collective. And I think that's one of the things that Senator Turner talks to and Rakana talks to and Norman has talked to is about, we can change history. We can change our own future right now. But it takes all of us working together, and it takes all of us standing up and saying that we will lead in this fight. So that's what we've got to remember going forward, is that nothing will change unless we lead in bringing that change.
Okay, and thank you very much for that answer, Judith. Okay, who do we have next, Phil?
Sudi, you're next.
Okay.
Hi. So earlier it was mentioned that we have over 2,000 people who have signed the pledge and about 750 delegates that have been confirmed. Let's assume all of those 2,000 were the delegates. Would that be enough to make a difference, knowing that we have a little bit over 4,000 delegates to the DNC? I mean, what's the magic number, I guess?
Well, I'd have to go back and look at the rules to see if it takes a 2/3 majority to pass or just a simple majority to pass. First of all, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not expecting that we will have enough no votes to overturn the platform, but I am expecting that if we can get it to over 1,000 people to vote no on the platform, it will make a significant difference. Because they're, like I said, they're already talking about it behind the scenes. The DNC was already sweating whether they were going to be able to make an announcement that Joe Biden was the official nominee because they didn't have enough ballots in yet. So there's a lot of things that are happening where we're making an impact that might not always be visible to us, but we know that it's happening. We know that we're making our voices heard. And right now, like I said, it's been disappointing. The whole process of the convention has been extremely disappointing for a lot of us because it seems like it's been very orchestrated and very scripted. We had some fights on platform committee. I was a member of the rules committee. We had some fights there as well, but we were very, very limited in the number of fights we could bring forward. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes to just limit our participation, which is not what the democracy is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a participatory process, not a limited process where we're limited in speech and action. So we've had to do whatever we can to start to influence these things. And yes, the Unity Task Force made a lot of progress on a lot of issues, but we know that there wasn't anywhere near enough progress on Medicare for all. And single payer healthcare is like a defining issue of our time. Why are we still fighting this battle? Why is it so hard to get our representatives in Congress to understand the need? It really isn't because they don't understand. The simple fact is they do understand. When they tell us that we can't afford it or that everything has to be incremental, that's just code for we don't really want to do it. Because we know if they had the will to get it done, it would get done. If you can keep passing trillions of dollars for a military budget, and you have a military budget that as it stands already has enough firepower to obliterate the entire world seven times over, then you can damn well have health care for your people. So it's a matter of our government has to decide that its major priority is to protect and uphold the rights of its people. And it's just that simple as getting them to do the will of the people. And we're fighting corporate interests. We're fighting, the 1%, and we're fighting a government system that only answers to that 1%. So it's going to take all of us, and Bernie talks about this over and over and over again, it's going to take a massive movement of people to bring change. And so, what I say right here now is it starts right here now. We have to quit looking to somebody else in this fight. We have to quit looking for other people to take up the mantle and talking about who's going to be the next Bernie, who's going to be the next AOC. We need to be the leaders right now, right now in this moment. So we can do a lot each of us can do a lot in our own communities, and we need to start realizing that we do have that power, and we need to start taking that power for ourselves.
Thank you.
Can I pitch in here? Can I pitch in here for a second, please? And I want to pick up on, I guess, the theme that Karen and Senator Turner were talking about. I mean, obviously, we all know that this is a fight, but we need to know what kind of fight this is, how serious this is. And, you know, because Medicare for All is what I call an entree issue. When we open up Medicare for All, then a lot of other issues, the military budget, how resources are used, and other fights become easier. So this is a gateway issue. Let me call it that, a gateway issue. And let me just tell you, this is a fight, but we need to know what kind of fight we're in. I'm gonna tell y'all a story about a visit some activists had with a congressperson here in Georgia. And I'm gonna be, well, let me just tell the story. This group of activists visited this congressman asking them to support Medicare for All. And the congressman told the activists, and these are like, you know, left progressive Medicare for All activists, and the congressman told them, you know, I like the issue. I signed on to the bill, but I may have to vote against it if it ever gets to the floor. And even if it gets to the floor, I may have to vote against it because my leadership is against it. And our caucus depends on what? Money from big donors. Now, this is a congressperson who has the persona of being progressive, right? And I'm getting myself in trouble on this call by telling the story. But it's a story that has to be told. When a supposedly progressive congressman tells his constituents that I may have to vote against it, and because my leadership is against it, and because they're corporate interests who are big donors to the Democratic Party, it helps us to understand what kind of fight we're in. This ain't just a fight, this is a knife fight. And we have to be ready to take it to whether it's Democrats, whether it's, you know, people who don't understand why we need universal single-payer health care. We have to be ready to throw down and hold folk accountable in the strongest way. That's why Nita Turner, you know, she'll understand this if she's still on the call. Some of you understand this. I almost was running around the house when she was talking with nobody chasing me. That's what we call being when we get happy in church, running with nobody chasing you. So my point is, that's why I'm just so loving Nina Turner for making us better understand, and Judith, you too, not only that this is a fight, but what kind of fight we're in. And we may even have to do what? Hold some of our friends accountable in real tough ways. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Karen, I got to jump in here on this.
Oh yeah.
And I got Norman in here too, because this is our tag team thing about power. Senator is absolutely right. We got to understand what kind of fight we're in. So I said this on the campaign trail. It's very relevant to what we're talking about tonight. Only all that we love is on the line. That's all.
That's all.
None too big. Just only all that we love. And so we do have to understand the moment we're in and who we're dealing with. And I'm glad that the senator told this story, because a lot of people could tell the same story. They're not going to move. They are controlled by the owner donors. That's just it. These people own the Congress. They own legislatures. They own city councils. They own the donors. So we got to know who we are dealing with. And as Sister Judith said, they know. They just don't give a damn Those are the cold, hard facts, progressives. And we're going to have to deal with what is and what we want to be. And be ready, as the senator said, to throw down on what we want to be without respect for these people with these fancy titles. We're dealing with two parties who answer to the corporatist wheel. And it is literally killing people, from the environment to healthcare to income and wealth inequality. I mean, the only people making wealth, not just an income, are the less than 1% in this pandemic. I mean, they making out like it's the Gilded Age. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we can't even get Democrats to agree in a platform that is not binding to agree with Medicare for all. I'm gonna put a little extra on what Senator Ford said, because I understand neo-fascist, neoliberal. I get it. But this man was interviewed about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago now. He was asked by the person interviewing him, if Medicare for all came across your desk, would you sign it? And he said no. So no different than the story that Senator Ford just told you. So progressives, we got to get our head out of the sand and understand who we are dealing with. And you know what? He's just an example of a larger power structure that is going to bump up against us. So just as we bumping it, it's going to bump up against us. And so the question becomes, who has the courage and the willingness to keep on standing no matter what? Because we're going to win this. Nobody thought we would even have Medicare for 65 years and older. Nobody even dreamed we would have unemployment and Social Security. So think about the things that we take for granted today and put yourself back in the shoes of our foreparents who were fighting for those things. They were ridiculed and called the same names that we're being called today. But understand this, they got it done. And just as they did, we will too. So lesser of the two evils. Norman, your beautiful speech, your comments about power, I think this is a perfect moment for that.
Well, when you talk about cold, hard facts, they're facts of life. And they're facts of life and death, which is what the corporate media rarely will mention. It's all this fog machines, and coming from the top of the two major parties, the fog machines are pumping out the smog, really, obscuring reality. And so many times in the last year, I thought of a section of a book by Martin Luther King Jr. that I only read about a year ago. It's his last book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. And he said that in that book, he said, love without power is anemic. He said, power without love is oppressive, but love without power is anemic. And we as progressives in 2020, we are sick and tired of being anemic. We refuse to be anemic. So really, we're fighting for love and we're fighting for power, and it's the same fight.
All right, thank you. Good responses, good remarks. Bill, who do we have next?
Leslie, you are up next.
Yes, thank you, Bill. Leslie Phillips, Clio delegate from Massachusetts, publicly elected member of the Massachusetts Democratic State Committee, and second-time Bernie delegate. This is a question for anyone who was either on the platform committee or directly involved in the final steps of the platform approval process. A couple of weeks ago, our state chair actually introduced during our one of our delegate meetings, introduced the chair of the DNC's RBC, that's Rules and Bylaws Committee, who's actually one of our delegates as well, who reported that just a couple of hours earlier that afternoon, the platform committee had apparently approved the platform by a slightly, actually an almost 78 to 22% margin. Those numbers are significant, and because of that, there would be no vote on the platform on the convention floor. It would simply be reported as having been approved by the platform committee itself. And the reasons for those numbers is that it would have taken 25% of the delegates on the platform committee to force the issuance of a minority report and therefore a floor debate, or in the alternative, 25% of the total delegate body to introduce a minority resolution directly from the floor. And of course, with all the machinations of when Bernie got out and endorsed Biden, and the statewide delegates accumulated by Bernie up until that point, us all having a mixed Biden on the outside, Bernie on the inside appearance that makes us Bernios or something. I guess that's a good word. Although we've got numbers, Bernie's count effectively was stopped at well short of that 25%. By the way, the total delegate body, somebody said a little over 4,000. It's actually almost 4,800. So the 25% figure was just shy of 1,200. And that became mathematically impossible for Bernie to get to earlier this month. And I think at this point, Biden is based on the certified Biden delegates, actually is now considered the nominee of the party in all but final blessing. So the question for anybody who is there, or at least familiar enough with it, is whatever number we get, I assume that it will show up at some point, maybe not during the convention week, probably not during the convention week, but at some point it will show up in the permanent records of the convention. But will it any way be reported or reportable either on the floor, or do we somehow get it into the news cycle that evening? Do we get it to the networks? Do we get it to MSNBC, or goddess forfend? Do we have to call up Fox and have them broadcast it for us that night? That we have this significant body of delegates who actually voted against the platform as a whole because of the absence of the one absolutely key progressive plank. And by the way, Massachusetts has had, and for in its state platform for 10 or 12 years now, it doesn't mean a whole lot, but at least we have it there. We had a long debate about that at a state committee meeting on Saturday, just what those platform statements means, and whether anybody who is running on a Medicare for All platform against a corporate centrist incumbent really gets anywhere with it. But at least we've consistently take the first step, and I assume we'll repeat it next year. But this is, to me, it's just an absolute travesty after where we were in 2016 to have not had that in the platform this year. And yes, like the rest of us, we have to go out and get Joe elected. That's job 1, 2, 3, 4,
Leslie,
5. But it doesn't take away the sting of what's happened. So so can anybody answer that specific question and then comment generally on it?
Thank you, Leslie. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we do have quite a few people who want to ask questions, and we have about less than 10 minutes to go here. So could someone ask the question, and if answer the question, and if so, if we could move on to the other questions, that would be great.
I could just say real quickly that I know it doesn't, when you talk about things already in platforms, and I've seen a lot in the chat about which counties have it in their platform, which states have resolutions passed. The point is that you're trying to create more tools to use when you're electing candidates within your counties and your states to represent your state legislature and things. So the next step is, once you have it in your state platform, your county platforms, and you've passed resolutions at the state central committee, then the next step would be to start working on a resolution that all candidates wishing for resources or help or endorsements from the Democratic Party must adhere to that platform or to that resolution. You have to start holding people accountable, in other words. It's just one simple tool that we can work on getting across the country, and one tool out of a whole toolbox that we're going to have to use to start electing progressives.
Okay, thank you. And boy, I could tell you some bad stories about that in California, how we have struggled mightily on that. Judith, we'll have to talk about this sometime. But we,
yeah.
but we are running out of time.
It's one we've got to take.
Oh yeah, I don't want to even go there. Let's see what we have at the end. I can maybe say something, but okay, who do we have next?
Justin, keep it to 30 seconds if you can, thanks.
All right, guys, thank you. So first of all, Paul Huntley, who is an alternate from California, has circulated an excellent plea I would like everybody to take a look at. I'm putting the link in the chat, and this is to ask that the alternates have an ability to file provisional ballots so that if we get to the end of the voting period, then if there are delegates who haven't voted, they would be able to vote. So please take a look at that, and I'd love your support. Secondly, I'm going to be doing a live stream tomorrow because of Medicare for All, and I think there's a lot of bandwidth issues. So I'm going to place my activist page. If you could message me, I'm in Washington, and I wanted to do it originally just as a Washington, but I'd love to add other smaller Western states who could come with us. And lastly, thank you very much, Judith, for your point, because we have it on our platform. Certainly that doesn't do anything, just like with the platform we're doing, but it's symbolic. But the next thing is we have to push and push and push. So thank you for reminding people that, Judith, because now we have a Democrat in both the House and the Senate who chair the committee that keeps blocking it. And I want to make sure that the next time we hear from Senator Fort that I'm calling him governor or congressman or mayor. Thanks.
You bet. All right. All right, and who do we have next? And we've got like about 6 minutes.
Okay, Sylvia, you're up.
Hi, I just want to make sure that you all are taking part tomorrow, no matter what. I know that some of us have to do this before 9 o'clock here in Boston, so I'll try to get it done, the story. What Medicare for All does is takes one other issue out of being in private hands. And if we are able to get that out of being privatized, then other things will become more accessible to us. And the last thing, I had a few more things, but we need to start shaming people for taking money, okay, from corporations, because it is corrupt. It's corruption. And we don't call it like that. It's corruption to be bought, okay, when you're a public servant who's chosen by the public, okay? That's corruption, okay? And Justice Democrats, everybody running under Justice Democrat is not taking any money from corporations. So please help us, okay? Thank you.
In the words of Shirley Chisholm, who talked about being unbought and unbossed, we know who is being bought and bossed, and they may be representatives, but they're industry reps. Let's get real here. So, and on that note, let's go to our next and maybe last question here, and then we'll do a wrap up, and then we'll be there. Okay, who do we have?
Brian, you're up.
Hey everyone. So I got started organizing when I started the Our Revolution chapter here in Yuma, Arizona a few years ago. I then went on to get elected to a county chair position for Yuma County here with the Democratic Party, and a vice chair position as well. And I've been focused obviously on trying to groom other progressives to do similar things as far as running for county and state leadership within the Democratic Party. So there was some discussion around influencing party platforms earlier, but I missed if there was any discussion around encouraging people to run for leadership positions and whatnot.
Well, actually here in Nevada, that's exactly what we did during our state convention. We ran a slate of progressive candidates and we won 9 out of 10 of those seats. So yes, that's a very, very effective strategy, and then one that we've been employing successfully here in Nevada. We right now effectively have control of our Clark County Democratic Party, which is Las Vegas and the area, and also our state Democratic Party. We have the majority. So that is a very effective strategy, and I would absolutely encourage and be willing to mentor anybody that wants to run for a party office like that, because we need to make sure that we've got all of our bases covered. We're looking at every possible position of power, and the things that you can do, like I said, in your own community and your state can be an important step in bringing widespread change across the nation.
Thank you,
So
Judith.
thank you for doing it, and thank you for running for office, and thank you for winning.
Yep. So this is Karen Bernal in California. I was chair of the Progressive Caucus for the state party here for 3 terms. And yes, there are challenges. We have a thing called ADEM, it's Assembly District Delegate Elections. And it's 1/3 of the overall voting pool of all the delegates in the state party. 1/3 assembly districts, and 1/3 county central committees, and then the other third is the electeds in the state legislature and elsewhere. And that is the three-legged stool thing. It's a balance. But while we have to, make sure that we put ourselves up and we get to these delegate positions, there is always going to be the struggle for who the other power is in the room. And in the case of California, it's the state legislature, which, California is a nation state, really, and the state legislature is extremely powerful. So that minority often determines who ends up being chair. They're vicious fights. And one of the things that Judith talked about was as it relates to getting the endorsements to cleave to our platform. We've had single payer on our platform since 2006. But you know what the biggest fight has been? The biggest fight has been that to get a rule since that time, we're talking now, how many years is it? 14, 15 years, where we can say that those who want to get an endorsement from this state party must say that they have read. First, we started out with agree with a platform or explain why. We couldn't get that. Then we went to that they have said that they've read the platform. That we have lost on that fight up to now. To this day, we still do not have in our rules that they have even read the platform, and they know why, because they would have to, all the money from the party going to them. So when we can I would love to be able to organize another call where we can talk about these kinds of nuts and bolts things, but this is not that call, and I am right up against the time when I've been told that we should try to wrap this up. So I'd like to ask any of our speakers if they have closing statements, and then let's say goodbye to each other, and then we'll give one last battle cry here, because we're all comrades in arms. So
I can say what I need to say in 45 seconds. I've learned something tonight that's very important, because people have been asking me, I've already voted, can I re-vote? So learning that we can re-vote is very important. When I get off this call, I'm going to be on the phone talking to some folks. Two, if you could tell me about the process or point me on the website or wherever that I can get information about telling my story, what people have been talking about in terms of putting their stories online. Let me know or send out a link, because I, just got on the Bernie Delegate Network a couple of days ago. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for inviting me, and stay in the struggle.
Hey, Vincent, this is Bill. I'll go ahead and email you that link.
Thank you.
Okay, and Judith?
Thanks to everyone for being on the call with us tonight. And thank you so much for joining our efforts to vote no on the DNC platform and send a clear message to the DNC and to the candidates, and also our elected officials and party leaders, that we are drawing the line at Medicare for All. We will not accept anything less. We will not accept deceptive language in the platform like affordable and accessible, or a public option for those who want it. We will not accept anything less than a single payer healthcare, Medicare for all system. So thanks for joining us in that effort. Make sure to keep talking about it. Plan on sharing all of your messaging tomorrow on our day of action for Medicare for All, and vote no on the platform tomorrow. Talk to people and get them to change their votes if they voted yes originally. Tell them that this is a vote for the people. It's not a vote against someone, it's a vote for the people. So keep working on that. Keep working on getting more signatures. We're going to be working on this right up until 5 p.m. on the 15th, when the last ballot is cast. Thank you all again. And be safe, stay well, and wear your mask.
And Judith, I saw a question here in the chat that for maximum impact tomorrow, what time are we asking for? Just want to go over that.
I know that there's a time that everyone's talked about, and if you can do that, that's great. But the main thing is voting no tomorrow, and everybody has different work schedules and different lifestyles and everything else. So the time that they're aiming for, that everybody's been aiming for, is 12 p.m. Pacific and 3 p.m. Eastern time. So if you can hit that time, awesome. Like some people are actually preparing their ballots in advance so that everything's ready to go right at that time. And if you can do that, I would go ahead and suggest it, especially since the PDF thing is kind of a pain in the ass as far as saving it and then making sure it saved all your votes correctly and then attaching it and sending it back. So make sure that you have all that ready to go, that you know what you're doing, you have all your instructions, and you're ready to send that no vote in and send a message, a clear message, and draw the line on Medicare for all.
All right, thank you. And Norman, would you like to say something before we sign off? I'd like to give the last word to our sister comrade.
Oh, just thank you to not only all the speakers, but everybody on this call, because as delegates and activists, but notably during recent weeks with this so-called convention, we've been plowing through a lot of mountains of, shall we say, nonsense, but underneath that mountain, the energy we're providing is just wonderful. And that's our future, is what we're doing together.
Thank you, Norman. And Sister Comrade Nina Turner, please take it away.
Thank you, Sister Karen. I'm heartened by everything that I've heard tonight. Is just heavy. You know, Karen and I had a chance to talk earlier today. We must have been on the phone about 45 minutes, just kind of having a sister girl talk about this moment. So all of us at the Bernie Delegates Network and other of our sister organizations, this is a safe space for all of the progressives. We understand how heavy people may be feeling in this moment. I am one that advocates for people to feel what they feel. I am not here to tell you that you got to feel a certain type of way. We are in a bad situation. I would use another word. Y'all can think, use your imagination. That is this moment. It really is. But it is times like this, when we're on calls like this, that reminds me that where there is a will, baby, there is a way. And we are being called upon in this moment to try to make a way out of no way, to make crooked paths straight. Not to go along to get along, but to strengthen our backbone and push back against neoliberal powers and corporatist powers of both parties that want to deny the marginalized, the dispossessed, the depressed, their opportunity to pursue happiness. I invite you all to go back and read the Declaration of Independence. Even though it was written by imperfect men, at the same time oppressing and enslaving and all the other stuff that we know went on at the time that that document was written. But in the course, there comes a time in the course of human history when they wrote those words to King George and put him on notice, baby, this ain't working. And we got to go. Because you are not representing our interests. That is our moment right here in the 21st century. We got to go. And going doesn't necessarily, for some people, it means staying in the Democratic Party and bumping up against them. As people say, this is our party, we can cry if we want to, progressives. We can stay there and raise hell if we want to. For others, it means them exit. They tired of it. They tired of being battered. I told Karen, sometimes I feel like a spouse or a mistress or something that gets beaten all the damn time, and I keep going back for more. It's something sick and sinister about this corrupting power. But I do see light. All of y'all are that light, baby. And there are millions of others like you who are that light. So don't get weary and well doing. Bring all your feelings with you. You know, I had a boss who used to say, if your hair is on fire, baby, act like your hair is on fire. We ain't gonna sit here and be comfortable and cool and calm and collected where people are losing their lives and their livelihoods. What sense does that make when your hair is on fire? Act like your hair is on fire. Damn, my hair is on fire. Thank God it's not as long as Karen's. I'm telling you, it's on fire. So don't get weary and well doing, because our mission is so high we can't get over it. And our mission is so low, we can't get under it. And our mission is so wide, we can't get around it. This is our assignment. And in the words of that great civil rights champion, the one and only Ella Baker. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. So for all of those who question, then how long is this gonna take? As long as it takes, because we who believe in freedom cannot rest. And you, comrades, are the modern day freedom fighters. So let's fight on.
All right. And on that
Amen.
note,
Amen.
I show this because this is my lanyard from 2016 in Philadelphia. Those were some that talk about trench warfare.
Oh yeah.
And we were with you, Nina, then, and we are with you now, and we know that you're with us, and that we are one big family, and it is a time right now. I don't know what to say. I mean, we're exhausted, but we can't be no ways tired.
Come on. Come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy, but I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me, or whatever you believe. That's from
All right.
African-American church tradition. Don't believe we come to this far. We ain't come this far for nothing, Sister Karen. We ain't come this far for nothing. When history is written, we gonna be in it, baby.
Okay, but after this is all over, I guess we'll sleep a minute, because in order to do this, we need that so we can dream. We can continue to dream and act on our dreams. And so with that, I want to open this up. Bill, can we open it up and everyone can like just from the rooftops?
There they go.
Okay.
Hello.
Yay.
Oh, thank you.
One bottom,
Solidarity.
Yeehaw.
Yes.
Love
it. Solidarity forever.
The misfits do this.
Done, people.
Thank you guys. Love you.
Done.
Power to the people.
Power.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night, everybody.
All power to all the people. Thank you.
Thank
Love you
you.
all.
Bye. Thank you. Let's do this.
Bye.
Let's do this.
Keep the faith, baby.
Yes, keep the faith. Hello, Sandra. Oh my God.
All right.
Love y'all.
Oh.